one story on the Blaze today, and it is causing, quite honestly, some tension here in the studio. Because Mr. I hate people, Mr. I don't have a heart for anybody, Mr. I let him die, let him die.
Yeah.
I've got to get to whatever.
Yeah.
Doesn't understand the problem.
Thank you for that characterization, Mr. Obama.
No, I
appreciate. I
hey,
appreciate the false premise being created, from which we will now have the discussion.
All I'm saying is,
all you're saying, give peace
I'm going
a
to be
chance.
punishing my
peace.
enemies. So anyway, the story is about this firefighter that was parked his fire truck at the scene of a really nasty accident
Across the freeway, blocking
at the
traffic.
Scene of a nasty accident.
Yes.
He parked it the way he is supposed to park it,
According to the fire department, not according to the police.
to be able to protect the first responders from people getting hit. And so the ambulance was there. They were trying to get these people out of a car. You don't want anybody to be driving their car, so you have to worry about the first responders. Get the person who is injured out of their car. Get them out, get them in safely, and then move the truck. Instead, the police come and they are saying that you got to move your truck. You got to move your truck. He's like, we're parking it here so we don't have any problems, so we can get the person. Can we get the person out of the car, please? Let us get the person out of the car.
And I think he asked to speak to the chief first about moving it, right? Didn't he say, let me talk to the chief? And that's when the guy slapped the cuffs on him, which is hasty. I'll give you that.
Hasty.
Yes.
I have a real problem with this. I think this is yet another sign that our police are going dark.
It's too general a statement. It's just way too general a statement.
You keep looking for these stories to make the police look like they're going dark. That's not. We have a situation here where it was an unfortunate incident. Another one very similar happened in 2008.
And the guy was fined, right? The police officer
guy was fined.
$18,000.
So, I mean, I think that's, obviously it's not a good idea to start arresting firefighters.
It's not.
And this is what happens. I think people get locked into their systems and what they're supposed to do and aren't thinking with common sense.
Yeah.
But I do not think that this means,
okay, all right. But you're right.
I know. I didn't need you to tell me that. I know
you're
I'm right.
Absolutely right. It's nothing to worry about. There's no patterns
fully,
here or anything. Let's just go to this one.
Okay.
Jacksonville homeowner thought she might have been robbed Sunday, realized instead her home had been altered by a SWAT team.
Yeah, I told you that story yesterday.
Yeah.
Okay,
but
well,
I'm sure
this
there's no problem with the cops
This is a
going
much
dark.
bigger deal than.
Okay, here's the thing.
Move the truck. So,
what did I say?
So the freeway's not blocked.
What did I say before you started saying? I just want to get to work. I don't care. Let him die. Let him burn to death in the car.
I did not say that, Mr. Obama.
I heard it. I heard it.
know
America
you
heard
did.
it. So what I said when I brought that up was, look how big this story is. I mean, we rarely see stories this large. If we're looking
huge,
we look at the mosaic every day, and this tells us what stories people are reading on the Blaze and what's going viral, et cetera, and how you're finding this story. And so people are coming to the website and they are finding this story, and a good portion of them are currently reading, out of all the stories in the Blaze, a good portion of them are currently reading that particular story. There's a lot of other amazing stories on the Blaze today. So when you see a story that big, it speaks to the psyche of the American people, or at least the readers of the Blaze. So what does that tell you? I think, as I tweeted out last night, I sent a bunch of stories out, and I said, just let's look at the pattern here. What does this pattern show us? And if you look at the pattern is, there's another story up on the Blaze. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Another story on the Blaze where a mom is, where is it? Mom's lawsuit alleges New York. And I just clicked on the wrong one. Mom's lawsuit alleges New York police reacted to her 10-year-old son filming them in a horrific way. So you're seeing, I think, patterns where the police are overreacting. You're seeing patterns where they are overstepping people's rights. You see this story in Florida is one of the ones that I tweeted out where you're just kicked out of your house. They don't have a right to just go into your house and just take your house over because, I mean, I can volunteer my house.
Seems to violate the Third Amendment for sure.
Which I've never... Well, this is the amendment we always make fun of.
Yeah.
We've always said, you don't need the Third Amendment anymore. You're not going to quarter soldiers in your house. Well, that's what police are doing. They're quartering soldiers in your house.
This is where I would disagree with you. You use the terms like are doing. Oh, there was a case. There are a few cases, a handful of...
I understand that. But you also...
incidents.
But you're also seeing the militarization of our police force. What changed in the American people's psyche was at the Boston bombing, when we saw everyone stay in your house, everyone, and then the SWAT teams and the armored vehicles and I remember, guys, the first time I ever saw an armored vehicle in the United States of America. I remember the first time I ever saw an automatic weapon in the hands of a soldier, and it was on Manhattan Island a week after September 11th. And I remember seeing it, and everybody was closed, and you had a checkpoint. And I said to my wife, this is not America. Well, it's becoming America. And so you have all of these small town, big town police departments getting these military vehicles. And what's happening? They're getting the military vehicles. And for instance, you can buy a military helicopter for some of these towns for like $60,000. They're just selling. The Pentagon is selling military helicopters for $60,000. You know how much those RAPs cost? Those big military vehicles that are fully armored. They're selling them to towns for $2,000.
Giving them away in some cases.
Yeah, in some cases. Some cases it's $2,000. As little as $2,000, you can get one of those. So what happens? So the towns are told, "Hey, we want one of those because you never know what's going to happen. So we want one of those." Well, they're expensive to maintain, and people feel like they have to justify. Otherwise, the town is going to say, you know what, we bought this. Why do we even need this? And they get a lot of pushback. So the police force, they're starting to push out because they're starting to say, if we don't use it, we're gonna lose it. And so they're starting to use it, and they're starting to go and use things and use SWAT-like teams for things that you don't need a SWAT team for. And so you combine the cops overstepping the Constitution and their bounds. You combine the cops, I think some of them, just starting to go dark inside, and the militarization of our police force, and you've got a very bad combination. How does that end?
Well, in any group of 794,000, you're going to have some officers that are dark. You're, of course, correct. And we're looking at individual incidents. I think when you talk about the militarization, there's a larger issue at play there that I think you can talk about.
How about the dark heart